Welcome to Around the Table. I love home and I love food, and this is where we bring them together. We've got a new year and a new guest. This is Kaleb Wyse, who I have known you via the internet for many years now. You're a tastemaker on Studio McGee, and I've been following and admiring your work for a long time. And I'm so happy to have you in my home.
I'm excited. It's surreal to actually be here because I feel like when you follow anyone, you kind of get this experience where you follow them and then you're actually here like, no, they're a real person. Shea is real. And it's really fun to actually be here and experience this with you. It's going to be a fun day.
So Kaleb is, what, fourth generation?
Yes. On my Iowa farm. So my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my mom and dad. My mom still lives across the road from where I do, so we're very, very close-knit in Iowa. And my new cookbook and the food actually we're gonna make today is kind of, I think what a lot of times—
You said new cookbook.
It's coming out, yeah.
I have the new cookbook. And
First copy.
It looks so good. There's always room at the table. I love that title.
Which is funny because it was right after I put the title in and then I heard your title because I think you announced yours like soon after. I was like, oh no, but I was like, you know what?
It's a table.
Well,
like
and I think it references that we all know where like food and how it brings us together. And I think it's the same thing for you, that food feeds family, but then it feeds those times together and those memories that we have, which is really what food is all about.
You have so many good recipes, and I love that we get glimpses of the farm.
There are a lot of pictures.
Very
of that.
beautiful images of the farm, and I am so excited to make what you are making us today. Tell me about it.
Well, what's fun is it's kind of I feel like an updated riff on something I would have grown up with. So during the 90s, maybe the 80s, a lot of the food was a little bit heavier, and we had a lot of food we grew. But the things mom maybe would do with it is with all the asparagus that was coming out of the garden, she would cream it and put it on toast. So creamed asparagus on toast, which could sound really gross. It actually is really good. But this is kind of an updated version that feels a little bit fresher, uses those same elements, gives us some of that creamy notes with some cream cheese and goat cheese. It has fresh herbs in it to kind of bring in the fresh flavors. It's a roasted asparagus on toast with a whipped goat cheese.
That sounds so good. I'm seeing all these fresh ingredients. Where do we start?
So what I love about this recipe is everything is pretty seasonal, but also something that you can find most times of the year anymore with asparagus. My asparagus in Iowa usually gets ready around, depending on the weather, April into June, and I have it for like a month and a half and lots of it. So what's great about it is it kind of takes that, roast it just at a high temperature to kind of retain the texture, but get the best flavor out of it. Because to me, why overcook a vegetable, right?
No.
Like roasting it is what's going to bring out that kind of best quality of it. Then for a little bit of creaminess, since I'm not gonna make you eat creamed asparagus yet, maybe someday. We're gonna do a little bit of cream cheese and cut it with goat cheese. So you get that tanginess and kind of that great earthy flavor from the goat cheese. And that will be spread on top of a really good toast.
Okay.
So you kind of get that crunch, you're getting the different textures, but in that cream cheese, what I love is you're really bringing in kind of the bright flavors, some lemon zest, some fresh herbs with dill, which is, do you like dill?
I do like dill.
Okay, good, because that's one of my favorites, and I
Love
use
it.
dill a
Yeah.
lot. And then capers, so you're kind of thinking of that idea with like a bagel, cream
Salty,
cheese, lox, but kind of changing that up. And then on top, an egg, which I love a good egg that can kind of just melt over everything. So let's get started. And when we are done, can we, by the way, maybe be eating this? Because I see a garden out there, and I'd love to talk to you a little bit
so that's
about
actually
the garden.
one of my favorite things to follow you for. I love hearing your garden tips.
I love the garden.
Because I have so much to learn, and you have so many good tips all the time. And Kaleb just makes everyone feel like they can do it.
Because you can.
Well,
and you do. You do. I see a garden. You do it. No, you do. No, you definitely do.
But while we eat this delicious toast, I would like to pick your brain about my garden.
I would love to talk about it.
It's pretty sad right now.
No, it's
in the middle
not.
of winter.
We are going to get all ready for spring and
we
get
can
excited.
get ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see in front, it's not too many ingredients. And what's great is it works well for breakfast or lunch. But we'll do the egg at the end. We're going to then make the cream cheese kind of in the middle with all the flavors of the fresh herbs, the dill, the capers, the garlic, lemon juice. But we're definitely going to start with the asparagus. It's the star of the show. And I think most of it here we have ready. But do you have an asparagus patch?
No.
Oh.
Do you have an asparagus patch?
Does not everyone have it?
I don't have an asparagus.
So you probably don't have rhubarb either. Oh, there's so many things we could plant for you. So asparagus, what's fun is when it comes up, you kind of have this barren thing that is just sitting there in ground. And all of a sudden in spring, kind of one of the first things to pop up is these little heads. And then within in a few days, you're just gonna get these beautiful stalks of asparagus. So when I'm growing it usually like that, I will go out to the garden, I will just break it off.
Okay.
And usually where it naturally breaks close to the ground, since it's so fresh, it's very tender. When we buy it sometimes from a grocery store off season, we have to check, okay, is this tender, is it not? So in starting with it, what I always do is kind of just naturally feel it and say, you can tell down here, it's dried out, you can see it's dry. Where does it break easily? That's usually a smart spot. Now, you can also just take this then as a gauge if you would want to, and instead just say they're probably roughly gonna be about that, and just give them a good chop, and you can tell it's tender when you do that. But we can get this ready by putting it on a parchment lined sheet pan.
Okay, so I have that here.
Everything's gonna be easier with parchment. I think it actually roasts better. And we're gonna do it at semi-high heat, so it has like a good temperature of 375 degrees, because you wanna make sure you get that caramelization. And that's what the olive oil is always gonna be kind of essential in, to make sure that you get that contact with the heat and starting to caramelize. So we'll drizzle the olive oil over everything. I'll let you do salt and pepper. I'll do a quick toss. A half teaspoon of kosher salt and about a quarter teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper.
Perfect. So I have some of that right here.
That's perfect.
The pepper.
And I think the freshly cracked will always, it sounds bougie, but it really does give a better flavor, let's be honest.
It does give a better flavor.
And then right into the oven to make sure we get right to the heat.
Okay.
So about 8 to 10 minutes, I just wanna make sure you start to get that little tenderness, but retain the texture.
Perfect. Throw this in. Okay, so our asparagus is roasting, and now we're gonna make the whipped goat cheese. Is that what we're doing?
Whipped goat cheese, which we're gonna do by hand. You could do it in a food processor, honestly, if you wanted to, but why? I hate cleaning those. So to me, it's 2 ounces of cream cheese and 4 ounces of goat cheese. Goat cheese can be a little crumbly and not quite have the creaminess that cream cheese does. So what I usually start doing, room temperature is gonna be easiest for both of these things. And then I just start taking it and I will just break it up. And then it takes a couple, maybe a minute or two. But if you keep doing this long enough, you're gonna soon start getting a creamier consistency. So I mix this now and you can see it's not completely soft and smooth, but it's cohesive now. And that's kind of, to me, the important part. But this is when we really add flavor to it, because this is now a creamy, slightly tangy, it doesn't have a lot of beauty to it yet. So we're gonna add in some lemon zest. Fresh citrus, that's a big change for me than how I grew up. We maybe had lemons once in a while, because I think Mom liked to add iced tea, but that would have been the most we used, but now we use it in different ways. So we have, I'll put in some honey if you wanna put in, there's lemon juice. There's a garlic clove that's minced up.
Just go for it.
Put it right in. I grow lots of garlic too. We need to get you to grow garlic.
I would love to grow garlic.
Easiest thing you will ever grow. Do you know why?
Garlic. I use garlic so much.
You know the best part? You plant it in the fall. You leave it all winter. So like right now, something would just be sitting there growing. And then in the spring, well actually not till like June, you have garlic.
Till June?
Yeah, it sits all, because then it has to, like it gets started. 1 clove will make 1 head. We're gonna do some, fresh parsley and fresh dill. So I like the mixture. I feel like parsley gets a bad rap. Like we're used to, like from way back, it just being on a plate and not tasting it.
Oh, yeah.
But now when
just a garnish, but I like
if you have a good fresh, it gives you that green kind of like note that I think does make a huge difference.
Also, it's making this colorful.
That's so true. It's like a salad in the cheese layer.
All this great fresh dill.
I love dill. And then the capers.
Okay,
so you get that briny kind of salty, beautiful thing. Now at this point, you could do it with the whisk. I'm gonna actually just clean off the whisk. And we're going to go ahead and just push it around with this spatula just to kind of make it more cohesive. But this is then how simple it is. So we have our asparagus roasting, this is the cream cheese layer, and then we can really just do the eggs, toast, and assemble.
This already looks so good.
In front of us, we have the asparagus done. You can see it gets that nice little kind of, just a little bit of caramelization. I love that. We have the schmear, it's not really schmear, but cream cheese, goat cheese ready with the herbs. Smells good. So let's get the eggs ready so we can then just assemble and put everything together.
Amazing.
For me, the importance of an egg is always to start with a hot skillet and then add butter. Butter's gonna have flavor. You could do an oil, but I like the flavor the butter's gonna give. And then make sure that melts before you add your egg. So I like to see when there's a little bit of sizzling, you're just beginning to get those bubbles in the butter. And that's when I'm gonna crack my eggs right into it, because you know then it has some good heat to it. I crack on a flat surface just to try to make sure I don't get shell in it. Let that white just begin to set around the edge. That lets you know we're at a good level for the heat. And then I instantly will always salt and pepper, just because season all along the way, you're gonna have better seasoning in the end. Everything is now ready, assembled in front of us. And what's great is you could actually make, the asparagus ahead. You could make this cream cheese kind of mixture ahead and just fry the egg and get the toast ready right on time. The toast just finished, so I like a nice light toast. If you want, you could do it in a skillet with, a little bit of butter, just to add a little bit more, but at the same time, this is just good enough. So then you can take your layer here, however much you want, and just kind of slather
A
it.
lot. We want a lot.
I know. I'm always like, this is my favorite layer. The bread is just a carrier in this
Yes.
case. I like a little bit of warmth on it, but I don't want it to be too hot because it would just melt all of the cream, kind of like cheese and the goat cheese out.
I got my tiny tongs ready.
Oh, look at you. You're just like food stylist,
Yeah.
cook, baker, chef, everything in one. You can put a little bit of asparagus right on top of that layer if you want. It's kind of as much as you want. You know, it's one of those things, if you really want to heft up your vegetables, you can just layer it on.
All right,
And the fun part is you could do it actually with any kind of in-season vegetable. And this cream cheese and goat cheese layer would really work well with any of that, I think. So the egg on top, I like a little bit of a runny, so I like sunny side up, so when you kind of hit that yolk, it runs into it and kind of gives you that final, almost like a sauce.
perfect bride.
I know,
egg.
right? Like you
Looks
just
great.
need that little bit to bring it all together, and then they're ready to go.
Look how good this looks, guys. So do we get to dive in now?
This is the best
It
part.
looks so good.
It's one of those that's probably awkward to eat like in front of people,
I
but
mean,
I like to break that yolk personally.
I don't feel awkward.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just
and
really
you get that
excited.
nice crunch of the bread. See that egg kind of fall out?
Yeah,
That's what I
beautiful.
really love. And when it can really kind of coat everything. So think of like the jammy egg and toast, you know? But like put together on here. That's what I love about it.
make the perfect bite here. So a little bit of the asparagus, toast, egg.
I really like it. You don't have to say you like it, by the way.
I really do like it. I didn't take a fake bite. I took a real bite. It's delicious.
This is like a gateway for someone that doesn't think they like goat cheese.
It is totally a gateway. It's a way to have it like a softer
Yes.
version.
I was
of
gonna
it.
say, in my case, I think of my mom every time I say this because every time I put goat, I try to hide
That's
it.
how my mom is too.
Really?
I'll be like, let's crumble
Okay,
some goat
that's so
cheese on
good.
this, and she's like, not interested.
I think it's because we're not used to it, right? And so it's like
Yeah.
if you try things like this, I think it gets you in a way to be like, oh, that's,
Tam Tams is coming over sometime today to meet you, so
we're all gonna feed her goat
we're all
cheese.
gonna
By a
say,
spoon,
Tams, you
like-
want some goat cheese? While I have you here, I kind of want to pick your brain about gardening. So,
Good. I love this. I will talk gardening all day.
so we're in March, and in my mind, I've got like another month.
Okay, is
But
that here? Like when I was gonna say
here,
when
like
do you?
Mother's Day.
Okay. Okay.
So what should I be doing now to get
This is,
prepared?
this is the great time just to kind of write down everything you want to do, just so you have a list. Because I always feel like when it gets close to the actual time, everything feels too busy, whether it's life, work, stress, but then also plants come in and you're like, I'm not ready. So write everything down you want to do, even if it's just like hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Write it all down. But if you actually want to start doing something now, we could plant a few seeds, whether for transplanting later or just to maybe have some fresh herbs indoors. I like to do that from seeds just because sometimes those plants, people like to buy the grocery store plants that are like in the produce department because real roots anymore, they do that. Not a good one to plant always at home. Those aren't really geared towards that. So if you start seeds at home, you might actually have better outcome with indoor herbs.
Okay, so it's freezing outside. I think in Iowa also.
Yeah.
I have these cutie little McGee and Co.
I love
pots,
these, yeah.
And help me experience my garden a little longer.
Always the thing I first tell people when they ask is one, when someone's like, what can I just plant or what should I plant? I'm always like, well, do something you actually love and want to eat. And so seeing the way you love to entertain and cook, you love fresh herbs, you garnish with them or use them. So that's a really fun thing, an easy thing to bring indoors. I think the first thing we have to remember is the indoors are never gonna be the best place to grow any type of garden, plant, or vegetable. So we're always gonna have a harder time. Our houses are dry. You know, winter, you have that forced air heat usually, it dries things out. But herbs are a low-cost way. I mean, a packet of seeds is a few dollars. Low-cost way to kind of get a little bit going. You can maybe even transplant these outside later. So the first thing is always do a pot, and I looked. This has drainage on the bottom, super important. There's a hole in the bottom, put a tray under it. That's because no root wants to be waterlogged. Nothing wants to sit there in water. That's gonna cause root rot. If your houseplant ever looks sad, it's probably waterlogged, more so than too dry. A lot of people mess that up. So in here, we just wanna put, when you're doing herbs.
I've messed that up before.
Have you? You didn't have to tell anyone. When you're doing herbs, so instead of just doing one seed, most herbs, like when you buy them, so that's oregano, which has really small,
these are so
small
tiny.
seeds.
I can't use all of these.
But you know
We'll
what?
just do
Also,
that,
you
okay.
can and you can always pluck them out. It's seeds.
Okay.
Like this is like low stress gardening because it's just seeds. So I'm gonna do a few too. I have basil, you have oregano, and honestly, 1/4 inch at most, which I wouldn't even make a hole. I would just put them on top, just sprinkle them, and then just kind of move the soil around like this, because that's all they really need. They don't need to go deep down, because really when you think about the amazing,
we're just gonna brush it on
just
top?
brush it around. A seed has everything it needs inside of it to open and start growing. It doesn't need fertilizer yet. It has no roots. It has the shell that's going to open. And so to do that, it just needs light and water. That's all it needs. And I'm not going to overwater these, but Always when you plant right away, do a little bit of water just to get it kind of damp on top. At the moment, you don't need to drench the whole pot because those seeds have no roots. So down here, nothing's really going on.
Right.
It's just about keeping the seeds damp on top so they can break that shell, send a root down, and then start growing.
Okay.
Every plant, usually, every seed you plant will start looking almost the same, where there's two leaves that don't look like oregano or basil. That's the cotyledons. That's what first takes and photosynthesizes what it needs to start. I sound smarter than I am. I really just, like, it's like a few things I know, big words, sounds good. So once we put this in here, now you just want to put it in a nice sunny spot. So ideally, we'd have a grow light, right? If we're trying to start plants. At home, when I start all my seeds, I have grow lights. But we're doing this more for fun. We're having some oregano and some basil grow. So, like,
So I need grow lights.
no need. I mean, if you want.
You use grow
that,
lights, though.
Yeah. Well, I start all my vegetables and everything from seed. So everything I put in my garden, you don't.
You're really just
No.
putting us all to shame
No, that
here.
does sound like it. Okay, so why do we start seeds like that? It's mostly because there's certain varieties you can't just go buy. So there's thousands of varieties of heirlooms of vegetables.
Yeah.
If you go to a store, you're gonna find maybe 5 tomatoes.
So this is really going to take me to the next level.
It just is able, so you can start finding, I love this, like, okay, Amish paste is the tomato I will always have for canning. It's a thick paste tomato, it's my favorite one. You can't always find it in starts, so you start it yourself. Or I was just telling you about my favorite herb, bronze fennel.
Bronze fennel. I am planting bronze fennel this year.
And you don't always find that one, so you can plant it.
I've never
like,
seen.
So anyway,
love that.
sunny spot. And I think I saw your mudroom actually has a lot of sun, and it gets some nice bright
It
like
gets so
windows.
much sun.
And there's a counter.
Yep.
So keep these in a sunny spot. And then I would say don't overwater them until you see a little bit of a seed come up. So keep them damp, and you could even, what I sometimes do is put a piece of plastic wrap over this. That's going to create a mini greenhouse.
Okay.
So you're going to get a little condensation on it. It'll keep those seeds damp. Once they sprout, take it off. Full sun as much as you can. Water it like a plant. And you're going to have herbs. Like, you're just going to... Soon Shea is going to have like a big greenhouse, starting all her plants.
Well, you already know I'm planting this.
You
right,
can-
actually.
I'll come to your plant.
So behind
sale.
this
I will come
fence
to
is a
it.
dirt lot.
Oh, you're being serious?
Yeah, oh, am I being
Oh
so
my
serious?
gosh, I had no. Are you
You
serious?
can come back around too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The plan is
Oh.
cute little chickens and goats in a greenhouse, and
We're gonna be starting seeds. That's what I'm hearing. We're gonna be starting seeds. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, well in that case, then this is like the
Do you know
first
that if
of.
I say that on camera, then Sid has to make it happen? That's that.
I need that. Can that happen for me too?
He's not here.
You know what?
So
It's a
I'm
different-
just gonna commit.
It's
to
a different
things.
type of what's that called when you put it out there? Like
Manifestation.
manifestation. It's like you're manifesting
I'm
it,
manifesting
but like
a
in a way it
greenhouse.
has to happen. That's okay. That's smart. So anyway, this is all you really need
Okay.
to do. So just make sure to have a tray under it so when you water,
Okay,
we don't
so
get pools.
you're daily watering.
If we put saran wrap over it, as long as you see condensation, no need to water.
It's not gonna dry us up.
If it looks dried out on top, give it a little bit of water to keep the seeds damp. Honestly, with herbs, we're gonna probably germinate in a few days, sometimes 3 to 4 if they get good sun. And then you can take that off and then water it as it dries out.
Okay.
And this is your first
excited.
garden. And so if they're
my
growing
indoor
well,
garden.
yeah, but if they're growing well, in about a month or two, you can throw them in your garden and they'll just keep growing. Because basil, as you probably know, roots really easily.
Yeah.
So you can take off a piece of basil, put it in water,
Yes.
it'll root. So you'll have basil all summer. Just keep doing that in your garden and then you'll just keep having it.
I cannot have enough basil.
I know, right? Most herbs like that,
eat a
basil
lot of
and
pizza.
parsley. I mean, you do. You live your, yeah, you do.
Which
Which
I
is
put
fair,
it in
yeah.
a lot of pesto,
Yeah.
a lot of salads.
Okay.
I use basil in like everything.
You know what's fun with pesto is?
basil mayo, basil.
So if you
everything.
love basil
But-
pesto, you can now, like my favorite cilantro pesto is what I started doing with like a little bit of pistachios instead of just, you can start like, so all these herbs you're growing, you can start making different things with your favorite basil thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Okay.
That's just kind of the fun part.
I wasn't excited about gardening yet because I'm so well. No, I get excited like when it starts getting nice outside.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
But right now
I
I'm
dream.
cold,
Yeah.
sad, and miserable.
Well, that's what this.
So
this like
I'm-
reminds you. But I get it is cold and miserable in Iowa too. So
But this is gonna give me hope.
I
These
know,
little baby
right?
Plants are gonna
and,
give me hope.
and you're gonna start growing garlic, so that will have hope all winter. You can see that it's gonna be growing,
great.
and then you'll have it.
Well, thank you so much for food and gardening
It was an
with
honor.
me today.
It was so fun. This is the point. Do it with friends,
I
right?
know. Thanks so much for coming to my home, and don't forget to go buy Caleb's book. There are so many beautiful, delicious recipes in here.
thank
and
you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it means a lot. Thank you. It was fun.